Hey guys, welcome back. It's Josh with the Financial Advisor Car Guy. This week we're going to talk about just buying a car in general. This is a topic that I get asked about all the time. It comes up at work, it comes up in my personal life. People ask all the time because they know I buy and sell cars fairly regularly, how I do it. And so I wanted to discuss just generically how to buy a car. And I'm just going to start by saying there's a number of different ways. I've done videos about different places to look online for a car, how to use Kelley Blue Book, how to decipher the value of a car, all those things. But when it comes down to narrowing down how to do it, that's something I haven't really spent a lot of time with. And I think a lot of that's because it seems simple, right? I mean, you go downtown to the car lot, you look at what you want, and if they have it and you can afford it, you buy it. Done. The alternative to that is private party. You can scour the internet for what you're looking for, find any private party who owns it, schedule a time to come see it, look at it, drive it. If you like it, you buy it, right? Again, simple, simple, simple. But really where it gets a little bit more complex is, do I finance? Do I pay cash? What does that look like? How do I finance somebody else's personal car that they're selling privately? Most banks and dealerships work well with dealerships. And so financing a car from a private party sometimes is a little bit challenging. It's a lot more work. The dealership just handles all of it for you. So let's go down that path. Let's go ahead and say that I am looking for a 1968 Ford Mustang and I've got $5,000 in cash. Okay. So I'm going to start with a private party, especially because there's no classic car dealerships around here that have a lot of inventory. There's a few specialty dealerships that do occasionally sell classics or they consign a classic car, but nobody around here is going to have one of what I want in stock. So I'm going to be forced to either looking at private party sales or something like eBay or Search Tempest. I can look for a 68 Mustang anywhere in the United States, but I'm going to keep it probably on private party. Now, let's say I find this exact car, and let's say that somebody is trying to sell it for $60,000. I pulled that number out of my back pocket. I don't know that that's what the car is worth. I'm just using that as an example. Now, if I've got $5,000, obviously I'm not paying cash for a $60,000 vehicle. Now, what I can do is I can contact that seller and say, hey, can you give me the VIN? Can you give me any information? Please send me additional pictures, whatever it is. And I don't know, maybe they're across the states, maybe they're across town. It doesn't really matter, okay? To get the VIN number is where you need to start, because now what you're gonna do is you're gonna call your bank and you're gonna say, hey, I found this car I really would like to own. Now it's a classic car, so sometimes there's different qualifiers and whatnot, but generally they're gonna want the VIN and they're gonna run a fax on the car, right? They're going to see if it's got a clean title or a salvage title or a reconstructed title. Because again, if a car is of a certain age, there's things you have to be aware of. It may not be as easy as getting a bank loan. But let's just assume clean title. Let's assume perfect everything, and let's say you've got really good credit. Now what's going to end up happening is the bank's going to say, okay, here's what you do. Work with the seller. We're going to need the title. Again, there's tons of paperwork. It's not an easy process, but essentially what's going to happen is the person that you're buying it from is going to provide everything to the bank. The bank will then send payment directly to the seller. You're not going to see a check. You're not going to get $100 bills. You're not going to get any of that stuff. The bank is going to handle it for you. Once the seller receives payment, right, the bank is going to collect the title. Then it's up to you to collect your car. So maybe you ship it, maybe you drive and get it, maybe you fly and drive it home, whatever. But that's private party using a bank. Obviously, private party using cash is plain Jane, right? You go look at the car, you make a deal with the seller, you pay for it with your cash, you go pick up the car, you drive it home. Nobody holds the title from you, you own the title. You obviously keep it in a safe or a lockbox of some sort or in your desk drawer, whatever. Wherever you keep important documents, because you're going to want to hang on to that because that's what proves that the car is yours. The DMV will need to see a copy of the title so that you can change the registration and all that stuff. But a dealership's not going to make you do that. The dealership's going to tax and license and title and do all the stuff for you. you just pay a fee, or it's built into your loan, or whatever that looks like. So private party stuff is generally how I do my business. I buy and sell cars. As you guys have seen, historically, a lot. I've done it a lot more than what I've shown on the channel. The channel has actually been kind of fun because it's slowed me down a little bit. I mean, my wife and I have been married 18 years, and I think my daughter's Eclipse is the 40th car that I've had through my garage in 18 years. Now that's, quite a lot. But some cars have stuck around a lot longer than others. This Mustang behind me, I've had it about 12 years now. That's the longest I've owned a car ever in my life. So it's one of those things where I was shuffling cars every couple of years. My wife was driving something different. I was driving something different. I also have a lot of project cars that have come and gone. Some cars I've owned as little as 7 days. Other project cars like this Mustang behind me, again, I've owned 12 years. So we've seen a lot of turnover in vehicles, and I'm happy to say I've never really lost money. There's been 2 or 3 cars where I broke even. One car I actually lost a bunch of money, but it was a daily driver car, and it was kind of a lemon to begin with. So that one kind of is an oddball that I would say is sort of a one-off case. But for the most part, I've made money on every car, whether it's been a daily driver or a project. So if you were to walk into a dealership, it works the exact same way as the private party. If you find a car that you've got to have and you've got cash, you can negotiate with that dealership and you can write them a check, or you can hand them $100 bills or whatever it is and be on your way. If you're going to finance it through the dealership works directly with your bank. So it's a little bit more streamlined than if it was with a private party. But still, there's going to be forms to sign, there's loan documents, there's taxes, fees, whatever else, depending on your location. And then, again, you get to drive home in that new car. Working through a dealership is generally the easiest way to go about buying a car, but it's not the most cost effective because their negotiation room is much, much less. They want to get top dollar because they've got to pay their employees, they've got to pay their loan guys, they've got to pay the salespeople, they've got to pay management and tech and all the people. And so they've got a payroll they have to make. Whereas if I go, downtown and find a guy who's selling a 68 Mustang and just pay him cash and $100 bills, it's a smooth transaction because it's just me to him. There's no overhead involved, right? There's no shop fees, there's no inspection fees, there's no dealer incentive markups and all these other crazy things that you see nowadays. And so, a market in like today when interest rates are higher, I'd imagine less people are taking car loans and more people are negotiating the price down to either justify the higher interest rate, or if they have cash, I would suggest that a car lot, they'd prefer you to pay in cash. They make a little bit of money on the loan, but it's really the bank that's making money on the loan. So they're getting paid one way or the other, whether it's you writing them a check and they get to clear that cash, today, or if it's through a dealership, it might take a few days for the dealership to fully get funded from the bank. And so there's some incentive to a dealership reducing the price a little bit to accommodate a cash buyer. But again, in today's world, people are maybe a little more reluctant to borrow because interest rates are quite a bit higher. So that's all I'm going to tell you guys today. We're going to stop there. If you guys have questions or concerns about this stuff, reach out, let me know. I'm happy to walk you through what a scenario could look like, maybe a little more personalized to you. I was very generic here. Not everybody's looking for a 68 Mustang. Not everybody wants to finance a classic car. Many times people want to pay cash and they're willing to take somewhat of a project because they know that they either have the skill or the knowledge or know someone who can help them get it fixed and finished and back on the road. And many times a car that's already had a lot of work done to it can be a really sweet deal because you're not going to pay someone else to do all the work. If the work's done and it's close, maybe you can get a really great deal because someone has to get rid of a project, and it works out for you because a lot of the hard work is already done. So those are always fun things to look for, and many times that can be some of the best deals out there. So keep that stuff in mind, but comment down below, ask questions, let me know what's going on. Most importantly, remember, may every investment you make be a good one. Till next time.